Okay, I believe we are live.
We are live.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to join us today. We have Derric with e-commerce tech here today. Very excited to have him as our series continues. As you all know, we generally bring on either a tech partner or a merchant partner, a client of ours, to talk about what they're doing. We've had some really interesting clients over the past couple of weeks, so I don't know if you'll be able to beat out interesting antique pottery, as dog food and cat food that has been delivered to your door and had a purpose behind it at all things. But we are very excited to have Derric here to chat about what he's doing, and any merchants that are listening. There's going to be an ebook that you can download as a free resource. You can also book meetings with Derric and his firm, and he'll give you a free consultation in terms of what should you be doing, where are you in the life cycle of your business, what vendors do you need, what is this new vendor management system coming out. So a lot to cover today. As always, we'll keep it to 10 to 15 minutes max. But I'll turn it over first and foremost to Derric, person of the hour or of the 15 minutes, to chat about, just give us a brief overview of what e-commerce tech does, and what you want folks to know.
Yeah, we're working on becoming what we're calling the marketplace for merchants. Anytime you're looking for a new app, in the future, it'll be a new agency, 3PL, and a few other different kind of vendors. Will be able to use your existing data, your existing tool stack, including things like how many internal resources you have dedicated to marketing operations and a few other really key data points to really help you decipher the really convoluted e-commerce technology landscape, and of course these other agency landscapes and so forth, in order to really help discern and make that decision as quickly as possible, so that instead of taking months of research and Google searches and Facebook questions and all that back and forth, and then just finally going with whatever your direct competitor is doing and hoping that they had it figured out, even though they don't know anything. There's got to be a better way, and so we're trying to build that better way with what I would say strong algorithmic approach by collecting great data on providers like you, and then also collecting great data from the merchants and what they're doing and what their strengths and weaknesses are right now. And then the magic of our algorithm kind of is the matchmaker to find the right tools at the right stage of business, integrations, feature set, all sorts of really complicated situations to solve for there. And then we're also around, because this algorithm is a work in progress, we're around on the high level doing this in a sort of manual consulting capacity for free for merchants on a regular basis.
That's awesome. So I've had the pleasure of speaking with Derric a number of times, and sometimes I'm like, hey, what life cycle stage are folks at when they're coming to you? What have you seen from the earliest side of things? Are folks still trying to figure out what email service provider to use, or are they generally coming to you later? What's your sweet spot? What do you like to see?
Yeah. So for us, our sweet spot, speaking frankly, is high growth merchants that are spending a lot on their tech stack, and it's changed, and the business is changing very quickly. But that's, each merchant has kind of different needs. So we've worked with everybody from starting stores that maybe had received some capital or have a really unique product idea or patent, and they're really trying to get into market and direct to consumer. We've worked with a few dozen Amazon sellers that are like, we need, our own place. We don't want to just rely on Amazon. And so making that migration, it's really challenging. But the good news is, when you have revenue coming in and kind of a proven fit in market, it's a lot easier to understand and recommend tools. When you're product market fit, you really have to be, you're not going to spend as much on tools usually, and you're just working on customer acquisition, which goes through a jankety funnel because it's always jankety the first time, and then the tool usage starts to kind of clear up for you. So yeah, email service providers, typically people already have them when they come to us. We've helped some people change email service providers when they're not happy, or even save money with their existing provider by just cleaning up the database and the strategy around how they email. But for the most part, actually, tools like yours are perfect. You fall into I'd say a semi-discoverable space, because cause marketing is important, but people often overlook it. And other forms of discoverable but high impact solutions, including personalization, cross-sell and upsell, post-purchase upsell, return shipping, customer service. These are very common places where we turn to a merchant and they've got a decent stack. They've got like 5 tools on email, multi-channel, maybe there's one tool on the website, that's helping with conversion. And then we say, okay, here's like 5 new things that literally in some cases like launched last month that could actually be like huge for your business, right? So there's like no way they could have known that this thing existed. And so those are the typical conversations that we have with merchants, just trying to show them the landscape, give them some ideas, get their feedback in real time when we're on the calls with them on those ideas, and then think with them, okay, but who do you have in the company that would execute on this? Can you actually pull this off today? Or do you have 3 fires you have to put out before you go and spend, 20 hours on getting this tool launched? And that's where I think a lot of people actually go wrong, is shiny object syndrome. It's like, yeah, that tool could be great, but when and how am I going to execute this in a systematic way to actually grow the business? A tool like yours is very similar. You could install your tool instantly on the site, but if you don't have a plan of attack for, a 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, 12-month campaign, it's going to fall flat or at least underperform. And that's not what you guys want, of course. And that's not what the merchant wants either.
Yeah, it's something where, and we actually heard Greg at Just Art Pottery 2 weeks ago say the same thing, where he listens to, a lot of podcasts. We, Kurt Elster's Unofficial Shopify podcast, kind of being the gold standard for a lot of merchants, listening to that religiously. And he had heard about us, but he's like, I hear about things all the time, like the effort that it's going to take to actually launch this. And then with the nice Givz plug that he gave us, where he's like, hey, I heard about this. This is something that can move the needle right now. And yes, you need to have a plan to implement this. Like Derric just said, a rollout plan for the next, 1, 3, 6, 12 months. But it's something that you can do and is achievable and doesn't take like, a dedicated resource full time to figure out, right? This is something that you can just roll out. To that end, on your side, Derric, I know you guys are building an app and trying to automate as much of this process as possible. So right now, I totally understand how it works. People, you're meeting with tech vendors like us, you're meeting with merchants on a daily basis, and your days stacked back to back to back with all this stuff. So you have all the knowledge.
My calendar.
Yeah, you have all the knowledge in here, but rolling that out into an app has to be a really interesting, so the merchant can install the app. You pull in all the data, right? In an ideal world, you pull in all the data. You don't have to talk to anybody.
Instantly, perfectly, yeah.
Yeah. It's instantly now. It's like, hey, here are the top 10 things that you need to implement in this order, right? Like that's super valuable to a merchant. Where are you in that process? What's going on? Is there an app that is downloadable now? Is that coming out? Where are we?
We only have some back-end admin functionality right now, so we're working hard to get this into a beta format for merchants. And yeah, you pretty much touched on it with a few basic integrations, Shopify, and then we're using a Plaid integration, which is that banking app integration.
Sure.
We'll be able to see your bank statement, identify this line item is Klaviyo, and the number is $79 a month. Then we put this into your tool registry, right? So you've got a list of all of the SaaS or really all technology and tool products, and eventually agencies and other things will come in here as well. And you'll be able to see how much you've spent on this month, how much you've spent on it over the last 2 years. And then like you'll be able to predict how much you might be spending on it next month or the month after. We might need to notice some, spikes around Black Friday and things like that occur to help you predict tool cost and expenditure. We'll also be allowing people to assign ownership, which I think is important. And you forget a lot of times that like, this person left the company and there's like 5 tools that we're still paying for that only they used, right? And they're just sitting there costing us money. So assigning ownership and helping with transparency on that will be another big step forward. And then another step on top of that is being able to monitor the actual usage of the tools, so that if I've got an SMS provider and I'm not sending any SMSs, like maybe we should consider removing this tool from our stack. Maybe there's another tool that's being used for this process. So that'll be another layer there. And once we, of course, have all this data on the merchants, and we've met with vendors like you to pull in rather unique data points. First, there's not really a place tracking all the integrations of all technology companies. So that's part of our mission. We need to understand integration as well, but also just we were talking about ease of execution and implementation. So we're creating a score system on that. So if it's really easy to execute versus really hard to execute, we're looking for those high impact, low cost situations, right? Because that's how our algorithm will prioritize to the top of the search results, essentially. So collecting those unique data points by hand from thousands of vendors, and then once we have all the information, the algorithm will magically work. Let's just say, but collecting the data, organizing what's currently been qualitative data and sparse data for both merchants and technology providers. That's part of the plan. So yes, in a couple of weeks, about March, maybe end of March, we will have a working beta for people to test. It won't automatically pull everything in. We're going to have to input it by hand at first. And then we won't have a recommendation engine because we need the data to start to build the engine off of. So it'll be a year or so as this process kind of progresses and more data, kind of becomes concrete and graspable by us. But I think it'll move very quickly into the direction of we don't need to Google search anymore for this. It's just a lot better to use this. So that's what I'm betting on over the next few months.
Exciting. That's cool. I would love to dive into our specific segment with you real quick while we have you, because I think it's a very interesting dynamic segment, especially right now. And as you mentioned, discoverable tech, right? Where you kind of more brands don't know they need it until they know they need it. And what we're seeing is that almost every brand that we're talking to is thinking about it on some level. They're thinking about cause marketing. They're thinking about their social impact strategy. And what is the tech solution for that right now? And is there a better way of doing it? Because to your point, cause marketing traditionally is a heavy lift. And it is, there's a lot that goes into it. And the way that we've really designed Givz is, yes, you can turn it on quickly, but there's also some best practices. We've been doing it enough now where we see, hey, like this is also how you can integrate it and pretty light lift, but also see these specific risks doing good, but also the KPI of blending performance. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on just the change of this landscape, what you see in your conversations with brands and agencies on this side.
I think that you're right that the technology you've created makes things really easy. But just because I started a cause marketing campaign doesn't mean that I've embodied the care of trying to give and incorporating that into the aura of the business. And that's why I believe when launching a tool, really when launching cause marketing, as a cornerstone of a business, it should take a period of time to strategize and roll out. And then from there, you choose the tool. So it shouldn't be tool first, strategy later. It should be strategy first, then choosing the tool that fits that strategy. And I know that you guys operate a little bit different than other cause marketing tools in the space. So I think there is, depending on the strategy, there is a clear discernment on which tool kind of rises to the top based on what we want. Do we want, a keep the change campaign or a heavy discount oriented strategy, or do we want something else? So thinking about how it incorporates there, I think is the first and foremost. From an industry level, like you said, we're seeing a lot more people that actually do care, and we're seeing brands, like kind of independent brands, launch up and fight the big guys because they have some form of cause oriented into their business. It's quite obvious, kind of why this is happening, between the proliferation of social media, social justice, and just fighting for good in the world, global warming causing everybody to say like, hey, we need to actually be the change that we want to see in the world. There's good cause for people actually caring and putting their dollars into things that they care. And so as consumer behavior changes, naturally brands can, it's a bit of a blue ocean strategy, right? Like you have two deodorants and one is made by Procter and Gamble or whatever, and the other is made by this indie brand that's, saying they're giving back. If the products are essentially the same, but one was made with a little bit less plastic use or fuel consumption, and it's got a component there, then you're going to choose the one that creates this kind of cycle of caring and giving. And so Yeah, so this is how I see kind of the industry evolving. I think the large brands are, trying to incorporate it often as a cost, whereas the small brands are thinking about it strategically as a differentiation of brand that either increases conversion rate, increases lifetime value / like brand affinity, and so kind of like, it's built into the business model rather than an adjustment we had to make because we're a multi-billion conglomerate and need to compete with these little guys.
Yeah, and I think that's a great
Yeah,
spot
absolutely.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe there's some internet lag there, but I think that's a great spot to kind of wrap this all up. And I think that on our side, we are seeing, so what is your strategy if you want to bring your customer into your give back mission, if you want to have the give back mission fuel growth and increase conversion rate and not be a cost center like traditionally it has been thought about, then I think Givz is a really an interesting tool for you to be using, an interesting platform for you to be checking out. But regardless, to check out everything that is out there in the e-commerce space, head over to ecommercetech.io. And Derric, thank you so much for having us. If there's one thing that you could leave folks with in terms of, is it download the ebook, hit me up on my website? Like what's the call to action?
Certainly, yeah, you can get in touch with me. You can book a meeting directly with me from the website. The most important thing for merchants is to think about how do you stay on top of the ever-changing technology landscape without bogging yourself down and letting all the fires that are definitely going on in your business, burn too fast and too far. So how do you create that like blended strategy and roadmap so that you're doing this strategically instead of always playing catch up? That's the thought. I'm not giving you the answer to that. I can help you a little bit, but like we're still all playing catch up. But that's the thought I want people thinking when they're out there in the landscape, Google searching or looking through forums and all that stuff.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us, Derric. And look forward to catching you all next week.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Derric.